Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. VA loans, that's what we're talking about today. VA loans are a benefit to help eligible service members, including active duty, retired, reservist, and National Guard, and surviving military spouses with buying a home. But a VA loan isn't just for buying, it's also for building and renovating too. So today we're going to talk about how you can use the VA loan to support your new life after transitioning out of active duty military life. My guest today, Amy Shick, is going to help us understand the 2024 home buying climate, how to make smart choices about using your VA loan, and all of that just so you can make your forever for now dreams, or forever for now home dreams come true. So welcome to MilSpouse Transitions live stream, sponsored by SpouseLink, a community to support, inform, and inspire military spouses. I am Anna Larson. I am a military spouse transition expert and your host for the day. I encourage questions, comments, sharing. Please ask whatever you need to ask. My expert guest is here for a reason, and she is going to be able to really provide the answers to some questions that you might have burning about buying a house when you're transitioning. Okay, so let me pull up Amy's bio, and we will let you know about this amazing person. Okay, so Amy has been a military spouse for 29 years. She gets a medal for that. I'm just saying that out loud right now. Her family has PCS 12 times in the past 20 years. Again, I know it's the life of the military, but really that is a lot. She's been investing in real estate alongside her husband's Army career, manages her rental properties from afar. So not only does Amy do mortgage loans and things like that, but she is a rental property owner, a home owner. So she has firsthand experience in this. She has founded and sold a business to assist military homebuyers in 2015. She's a loan officer and assists military homebuyers using the VA loan. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring up Amy Shick and welcome her.
Hi. Hello, Anna. Thank you so much for having me on. It's my favorite topic.
VA loans is your favorite topic. I love it.
Yeah. Anything that has to do with home buying, home selling, rentals, anything. I love real estate and I love people. So I get to do both with my job. I love it.
Well, tell me a little bit about that. My spouse actually loves to go look at houses, whether we're in the market or not. Like, let's go look at this house, And so I have looked at hundreds. I would even say thousands of homes with no intention to buy. I'm sorry to all those real estate agents out there.
It's okay. Yeah.
But we just go because he's fascinated by exactly what you're saying, right? Home buying and what houses look like on the inside and what they're priced for and why and all of those things. So I'm excited to talk about that with you today.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat and dig into this.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to put Amy in what we would call our star of the show position. Yay! Okay. So the first question I have is it's an interesting one, but it really has to do with the fact that when you are departing from the military, one of the biggest, brightest, exciting moments is thinking about that forever for now home. And I call it the forever for now home because forever home feels quite final to someone who has been traveling 12 PCSs in 20 years like you had, that's a lot. So when you are moving that frequently, to think about living somewhere forever is kind of anxiety building, at least for me. So I call it for the forever for now home. So, but that's one of the most exciting things about leaving the military is thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to have a house that I love. A home that fits my needs. It's not going to have weird hallways or a tiny bathroom that doesn't belong somewhere. Or, the living room is going to actually fit my furniture. I'm not going to have to cram stuff in weirdly, those kinds of things. Or the kitchen. Oh my gosh, the kitchen. I bought a house that has a 14-foot long.
Oh my gosh. Island. Yes, nice.
You know,
Yeah,
those
it's a
jumping.
dream, right?
Yes, yes. I walked in and I felt like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen Napoleon Dynamite, but that lady is like, I want that. We walked in this house and that's what I did. I turned to my husband
Yeah,
and I went, I want this house. I want this house. I wanted to just lay on that countertop and be like, oh my gosh, I can roll up cookies here and I can spread
yes,
things across the counter. Anyway, all right.
yeah.
So okay, I totally went off track with all of that commentary. So let me get back to our first question. And it really does have to do with what we were just saying. But Amy, can you talk to us a little bit about the emotional impact of being a homeowner of a home you truly love as a transitioning military spouse?
Well, being a homeowner, now, of course, we've bought in several places. We've also rented, and then we've also lived on post. So we have seen all, just the gamut of military lifestyles within our time, my husband's time in the Army and my time following him around. But when you own a home, there is a different sense of grounding and security. It also is a personal investment. When we rent, it's like, okay, this is a great neighborhood, but I know I'm going to be leaving. I know I'm just going to rent this house. So I'm not making a personal investment into the yard and how it looks. And so work, I know this sounds crazy, but work is also what, when you create something new or you improve it, gives you this sense of pride that you just can't really get living on post or living in a rental. And knowing it's yours and that you don't have to leave if you don't want to, or if you do leave, you can keep it, rent it, and come back to it. It just gives you another sense of belonging within the community that I just don't think renting or living on post provides, because it's not yours. It's kind of like driving a rental car versus driving your own car, right?
Yes, yes, that's exactly what it is. I remember when we went looking for houses, there is very distinct feeling when you walk into different houses, right? Some of
Mm-hmm.
them I was
Yes.
like, absolutely not. We can just turn around and walk right back out this door, and it's going to be a beautiful home for someone, but it was not a home
Uh,
for me,
yes.
right?
Yes.
I think that as military families, when we travel so much and we live in so many different types of spaces that are so differently arranged, I mean, for even one base to another, the housing is different. You know,
Yes.
what you live in on Fort Campbell is not the same as what you live in at Fort Huachuca or what you live in at Fort Cavazos, or, and so I think that we become collectors of furniture pieces and we think, when we'll work in this house and then we can store that in the garage because it's too big or too small or it doesn't fit right or whatever. And then we try and build a home around like that space that isn't really ours. And so when
Yeah.
we do get that chance then to say, I'm going to purchase a home, I'm going to paint the walls, I'm going to put up wainscoting if I want, I'm going to rip out that
Exactly.
tree. I mean, like,
Yes.
you have so many options.
You have so many options, and you have the option for change within that particular property. So you may find a house and you're like, I absolutely love the yard, but I'm not in love with the countertops. Okay, great. You can change the countertops in a few months. Like, and getting comfortable with these kind of projects and actually making it your own for the long term, right? I mean, it's just we all do, we all it's makeshift, right? Like, we make this place our home for the time being, but it's temporary. And I think we always kind of have that in the back of our minds. Like, I'm going to put up curtains, but I'm going to buy cheap curtains because they may not work in the next house. So I'm going to buy cheap curtains, or it's just things like that. But when it's your forever home, you're like, okay, yeah, we're going to redo the mantle in the fireplace, or we're going to gut this bathroom, or lay down new sod, or plant grass and let it grow, and plant trees that you'll actually get to see come to fruition, instead of just planting things knowing that you're really not going to see how they fully mature.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, and I feel like the word you used at the very beginning when you talked about personal investment is really the key
Hmm.
here, right? You do feel personally
Yeah.
invested at this point into what you are, in what you're building and what you're creating in that space. And we're only
Yes.
talking about buying a home. We haven't even talked about like, I mean, renovating a little bit, but building
Yeah.
your own home and really making the
Hmm.
specifications like to exactly what you want. But okay, before we talk about that though, we do need to jump into the VA. I could talk
Yes.
about having a forever home that I love
Yeah.
for a long time, but
Yes.
let's talk into or jump into the VA questions. So
Yes.
my first question for you today, Amy, is kind of about the last couple of years, when the market went a little bit crazy, right? The
Hmm.
VA loan kind of got a little bit of what I'm going to call a negative reputation, in the
Hmm.
sense that, oh, don't use it. Nobody will accept it. None, the homeowners won't want you to have it. And so it kind of had like this kind of downturn of popularity and use. Can you tell us a little bit about why the VA loan got that reputation and kind of where we're at right now with it?
Sure. Years ago, I'm going all the way back to like the 2000s. The
Wow.
VA loan, right? I mean, that was actually quite a bit ago. Um, Kind of sad to say, but so the VA loan had this reputation of there were going to be so many more requirements for the home seller. It was going to equate to less money in their pocket. They were going to have to fix more than they would have to in other transactions. And and then also, is it as stable, right? If someone's putting zero down, is their funding as solid as, say, a conventional loan? Today, a lot of that has changed. The VA, of course, they do have a VA appraiser, which is different than a regular appraisal. They do like an additional inspection, but really that's for the protection of the home buyer. Um, to make sure that they're not getting something that has been painted over but the wood is falling apart, things like that. But it is solid financing. The VA backs these loans. You can get in for zero down, and it's got a different reputation and a lot of people are using it. The VA loan is definitely a huge benefit for military and veterans and surviving spouses, that no other loan program can really do for them.
So if you have a potential home buyer, like
Mhm.
a home seller that says, oh, you're using the VA loan and you feel that kind of like negative, what would you recommend somebody do to be like, hey, that's not a bad thing, right? Like, is there like, I don't know, is this the job of the loan officer to kind of talk them through that process, or their realtor to help them understand that better?
So the realtor definitely is like the very first one to present that offer, that has VA financing, and they're going to submit that with a pre-approval. I always suggest that you have a pre-approval and not a pre-qualification. They're two different things. A pre-qualification, in a sense, is getting online, putting some information in, and getting a pre-qualification letter, kind of an automated letter, where a pre-approval is coming from a loan officer, and that loan officer has, um, been given your documentation. We've reviewed your preliminary W-2s, pay stubs, identification, and then we've ran your numbers, through a pre-approval, for that particular property and that price and that scenario. And we are saying we have done a preliminary, review, and we are saying that based on our professional opinion that this buyer has solid financing. Something that I also do, this is something that I learned from my branch manager, is I will call the listing agent on behalf of my client and advocate for their offer and give them more information from the loan officer to let them know that this financing is solid and that they've got a fantastic loan, um, fantastic lender, and that they will close on time, and just kind of give the listing agent the confidence that this isn't just a pre-qualification that someone printed off the internet, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Absolutely. And first of all, I love that you're an advocate on behalf. So anybody out there looking for loan officers, make sure that you have a good one that's going to have that kind of attitude, right? Because you do, this is about advocating for you. And when you find that home and then you don't get your offer accepted, it can be so disappointing.
It is for sure.
I wanted to throw this comment about what we were talking about previously from Amy, but as a military spouse, I've fantasized about what our forever home will be and look like. Now we're getting closer to this reality. I find myself overwhelmed just thinking about the decisions we will have to make about this home. Amy, I just want to say that I'm hoping today helps you feel a little more comfortable with the process and kind of what it is that you have to do, because I think that as Amy Shick, continues to kind of help us understand what the VA loan and even provide some of those like tips for buying. You're going to find that it's a lot. It should be a lot less anxiety driven than maybe we are thinking it should be. So, okay, so let's jump into our next question, which I actually really love. Because as an advocate, I feel like you know better than anyone what it is that a transitioning military family really should be doing in advance and at the time of when they are looking at purchasing a home. So can you give us some of your top tips for using the VA loan for a transitioning military family?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of just unknown information, and people think if I'm leaving the military, I can't use the VA loan right now, but you can. So your lender is going, as long as you have an employment offer letter, we can use that employment offer letter to validate your income and your employment. So one of the keys is that if you are, say, an x-ray tech in the military, and you are transitioning out of the military and you're going to be an x-ray tech at a local hospital or a hospital in another state, and you have a job that you have the offer letter, you've already accepted it, we can use that. And since that is the same kind of career field that you had in the military, that's going to translate over. If you're changing careers, as long as that employment has a training element to it, then we can also use that. So I think a lot of people think like, okay, well, I'm leaving the military, I can't use my VA loan. You can, and that's actually a really fantastic time to use it, because that's also when you're going through, all of your, disability claim process, and if you don't have if you're active duty and you do not have a Purple Heart, you're going to pay a funding fee when you use your VA loan. But as you transition out, and if you have a disability rating, if you are a military spouse, sorry, that's my boss waving at me in my office outside.
I love it.
Yeah.
Boss, hi.
It's like it's always comic relief in this office, which is we're always playing pranks on each other. So, okay, I'm sorry. Where was I? So if you're a surviving spouse and you're receiving dependency and indemnification compensation benefits, if you're receiving disability compensation, if you're active duty with a Purple Heart, that funding fee is going to be waived, which that could be anywhere from 2.15 to 3.3% of the purchase of the loan amount. Being able to waive that is a huge deal. That could be, $10,000 even in the transaction that you don't have to pay.
Can I ask you a quick question about that really quick before we move on? So if you're transitioning out and you're trying to purchase and your home purchase is happening before you actually get your disability rating. And so is it retroactive? Can you get that funding fee returned to you, or is that and is that too bad you're too late?
Yeah, so in certain circumstances, and of course the Army, or not just the Army, but the DoD has lots of rules.
Yes.
So
What?
if you have,
Rules?
um,
Rules in the
so
military?
it,
Come on.
right? Layers and layers and layers. So there is a particular situation. So as you're going through that transition process, if you're, let's see, it's called a, trying to think of the name. It's basically like your memorandum. If your memorandum for military compensation is effective before the closing date, but you don't have it at the closing date, then you can request a refund. But if you're going through the process and you do not have that memorandum that is awarding you, your VA disability and your compensation, if you do not have that and you close, then you won't be able to request a refund. It's the effective date of that memorandum. If that is before your closing date, then you can go back and request a refund of that funding fee.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. That was actually
Yeah.
very helpful.
Yeah, and so that's where the timing is so important with all of this. However, what I want people to understand is that you can get pre-approved for your VA loan in advance. So you know what your price range is going to be based on your new income, based on, what your disability compensation is going to be, retirement, all of that, maybe your spouse's income. You can get pre-approved prior, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use it quite yet. But getting pre-approved with a lender is going to help you understand what your price range is. So it's going to make when you're home shopping, that experience so much more enjoyable, because what ends up happening is the home shopping is really like the funnest part, right?
Yeah,
Like
it
getting
is.
onto realtor.com, Zillow, or whatever platform you're on and looking for homes. But if you're looking for homes that are outside of your price range, you're just going to be disappointed when you finally talk to a lender and the lender's like, well, you really need to shop for something that's like, I don't know, 50 to 70 to $100,000 less than what you've been shopping in. And that's not fun. So I always say, to set yourself up for success, contact a lender, get, you don't even necessarily have to get a pre-approval. You could just kind of get an opinion, and then you can start shopping. So that's what I recommend.
Okay, so let me jump in there again. Just one more. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm here to ask the hard questions and the real life questions, right? So
yes.
I know that one of the conversations that happens is, well, do we even tell them we're transitioning? Do I tell them I'm not going to have a job? Like, or do we just go in and get that pre-approval letter based on what my current income is, right? And not that we want to try and trick a lender in that sense, but there's this massive fear that because we're leaving the military, maybe don't have, or the service member may not have a job set up. The spouse may be working but not making enough to qualify for enough. That there's this fear of, if we tell them all the details of this very complicated, massive change our family's going through, then we're not going to get it's not going to be optimized for us. So what would you say to a family that's having that fear right now?
Always be honest.
I
Always
love
be
it.
honest. As lenders, we're going to look into all of this. And a large part of your loan is the ability to repay. And so that is super important, that you are always 100% honest. This is what we do. We help transitioning service members all the time. We help veterans. Sometimes they're have already transitioned, but they decided to stay in the Pacific Northwest, but then he got a job offer in Virginia and he's going to take it. Like, this is what we specialize in, is transitions and optimizing it. And the VA loan, there's a lot more flexibility to it than people realize. But I always say, always be honest. If you're not honest, it's considered mortgage fraud. And that's the last thing that you want to get yourself wrapped up into. And then, of course, if you commit mortgage fraud with the VA, that's even worse. You could lose your benefits. And the benefits, I'm telling you, the VA benefits are the next best thing to the post 9/11 GI Bill. You can buy multiple properties with the VA loan. You can buy a fourplex and live in one of the units and rent out the other 3 units. It's just, you can use it over and over again. And a lot of people don't understand that. So it's really, for a lot of military home buyers, whether they're active duty or they're veteran, getting in with zero money down is it's such a leap. It's such a leap into home ownership that you just don't want to jeopardize that benefit. But this is what we specialize in, is all of these transitions. So we help you make it work for you in your situation.
Okay, I love that answer. Okay, so we're just going to reiterate: down with mortgage fraud. Okay,
yes, do not do that.
So if you know that you're transitioning out, don't be afraid to let your mortgage loan officer know about that, especially if you're using the VA loan, because it's just what Amy said. I just want to reiterate it. They are specialists in helping you transition effectively, and probably have worked with thousands and thousands of transitioning military families and understand what that means, right? And where that's going to place you, where that's going to land you, and can answer so many questions. So thank you for that. Yes.
Yes. And we see this all the time. And actually, if you reach out to a lender first, that lender can help you optimize your transition and your timing. And so, because we see so many different transitions, and then also, like, from the company that I work for, we have an in-house underwriter that specializes in the VA. So if I have a question, I can just reach right out to the underwriter and say, and my question is, how can I make this work? And he'll tell me exactly how I can make it work if it's a situation that I haven't, come up with myself. But because you've transitioned once or are in the middle of transitioning, and we've helped multiple people transition and use the VA loan, we may have different solutions that you may not, haven't even thought of. And so that's why I always say, reach out to your lender, reach out to the realtor. We work as a team to help the home buyer achieve what they need to achieve. And so a lot of that comes with the advice, that we, can share with home buyers. So I definitely say a really good lender, a really good realtor is going to have solutions to almost all of your problems.
Oh, I love that. Okay. I'm already feeling better. And hopefully Amy, if Amy's still listening live out there, the other Amy, hopefully the other Amy is feeling a lot more comfortable about moving forward with this process as well at this point. So, okay, I do want to jump into building and renovating, okay, because this is the big question. I did not know you could build a home using the VA loan. I also did not know if you had a home that was maybe a massive fixer-upper, that the VA loan would consider that because of that secondary inspection, right? There's always this fear, if there's too many issues, it's not going to work out. So can you talk about this for a minute?
Sure. I think a lot of people think that if I use the VA loan, I have to buy a new build, and it has to be a single family home. But the VA loan has a lot more flexibility than people realize. You can purchase a home, and renovate it. You can purchase a duplex, triplex, or quadplex that is up to 4 units. You can live in one and then rent out the others. You can buy a manufactured home or a lot. You can even buy a condo if the condo is in a VA approved project. And then you can also buy a home and renovate it for energy efficiency. So you can do all of these things with the VA loan, which gives so much more flexibility, right? And I think people think that VA inspection that comes with the appraisal. It's one person, right, that does the VA inspection and appraisal. If you're buying a home, a single family home, without the intent to renovate it, well, they're looking at things to make sure that you're getting a quality single family home or a quality condominium. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't use the VA loan for these other purposes. And so it really does have so much flexibility. It's and then the other side of this with the VA loan that gives veterans and service members an opportunity that may not come about for other home buyers is VA loan assumptions. So I would say I don't know if that's the VA loans are assumable. So if you are, and of course, a few years back, people were buying homes or refinancing homes in 2 and 3% range. And so now they have these homes that the interest rate is so historically low, but they're PCSing away. Well, if a family is moving in and they're looking for a home, if they meet the same loan qualifications for that VA loan, they can assume that seller's loan, and then they can pay the difference between the price of the loan and the price of the property and the loan amount. Okay. And so if you can get the bulk of your loan at 2.9% and assume it, that is a huge advantage, right? Yes. Nobody's getting 2.9% these days, even 3%. So this is just another opportunity that veterans or, service members or surviving spouses have over the average home buyer. Now, assumptions do take longer. You're looking at probably 60 to 90 days. But if a home seller has a home that they are selling and they're willing to do that for another home buyer, it could be a huge win-win for both of them.
Oh, yes, it absolutely could be. I mean, having a bulk of your loan at a low interest rate like that you can't now really does make, I can imagine, a massive difference. I didn't even know that was an option, to be honest. I had no clue.
Yes, and so obviously the home seller wants a military home buyer that has VA eligibility to assume that loan, because then it restores their VA eligibility so that they can go buy another property with their VA loan. But there are some military home sellers that are PCSing, and they may be in a market that things aren't moving quickly, but offering your home and offering it as an assumption really puts the heat on someone purchasing your home that can't assume it, because it's going to save them thousands of dollars, and then you restore your benefit. Now, you can have someone who does not have VA eligibility assume your loan as long as they meet the loan requirements, but you do not restore, the home seller does not restore their VA benefits. And obviously, no one's going to refinance a 2.9 or 3 point, interest rate. And so you want to make sure that you can restore your benefit, because you may be buying somewhere else down the road that you need to get in for zero down or a low down payment.
So look at that. If you're a home seller and you're tuning in, you just got some great advice right now from Amy as well. If you're selling your home and you used your VA loan to purchase that home. Okay, we're winding down on our time here, but we have one last question for you before we say goodbye. I wanted to throw up the forecast that we are looking at for 2024. We just went through this massive, everything's $1 quadrillion and you know, you're giving away your first child in order to purchase something and forgoing
Yeah.
all inspections. I mean, it was a little crazy.
Crazy. A
And I
lot
know
crazy.
yes, it was a lot crazy. And just watching friends go through that, people who were looking for a home, who were looking to purchase, I just felt terrible. We bought our house right before that started. And I just am
Us
like,
too.
whoo, right? Like that is like a massive relief on my side. But
Yes.
I know that was a very difficult couple of years for some people. So can you tell us what we're looking at over the next year and kind of where we're at now with the current market? And this is general. I get it, right? Every city is going to be different, but yeah, we're generalizing here, everyone.
Yes. Yes. So for 2023 nationwide, we saw about a 5% appreciation in home values, right, on average across the nation. So even though people would say 2023 was a terrible year for real estate and transactions were, you know, the quantity of transactions were low. However, we still saw market appreciation in a lot of areas. But each area, each location is its own separate market. And then inside each location, it's going to have its little micro markets. And so that's something to keep in mind. The other thing is homes are still, it varies depending on the home and the location so much. I guess a few things that I would say is 2024, it's an election year. So it's going to be interesting. You know, there's been a lot of talk about interest rates lowering, but it looks like interest rates probably are not going to be lowered until the May meeting. And we were hoping that it would happen in March. So May and June is probably, hopefully, if, you know, all the economic factors align, you know, with inflation coming down consistently, that we'll see interest rates starting to come down. But on the flip side, I feel like every little market has those homes that are still getting multiple offers. If a home is well cared for, it's updated, it's in a great location, that home, kind of regardless of what's going on in interest rates, is going to sell quickly. It also has to do with the price point. The lower the price point, the more buyers that you have that are eligible and have the ability to buy, you know, those particular properties. But if you're willing to roll up your sleeves and put in some sweat equity, there are still a lot of homes on this market where your realtor can use some really fantastic strategies to get you into a home and get maybe closing costs paid for. With the VA loan, your realtor can request up to 4% of seller concessions. And so that could cover your closing costs. The other strategy that we've seen a lot of realtors use is what is called a seller paid 2-1 buy down. And that is where the seller pays for your interest rate to be reduced by 2 points the first year. And then the interest rate is, the next year, the interest rate is lowered by 1 point. And then the beginning of the third year, your interest rate goes up to your note rate. But what that does is it gives you 2 years of a significantly reduced interest rate. And the theory behind that is that you're going to refinance within those 2 years into a permanent lower interest rate. And so it gives a lot of families that breather room to get into that property at just a lower monthly mortgage. So, I mean, those are some strategies that realtors are using in this market to make things more affordable.
Thank you so much, Amy. Like, there's so much that is going on. I don't think there's any way we could fully cover like all of the opportunities that a military family has. And while we're talking about transitioning kind of specifically, I think this just goes across the board for any military family that's thinking, hey, should we buy a house at our next location? We're supposed to be there for more than 2 years, you know, I mean, like that kind of thought process. So Thank you so much for all of that information. I'm going to highly recommend. Well, let's just do this first. I am dropping in the comments right now a link that Amy had provided me. I'm going to throw this up here so you can see. This is the current guidelines for VA loans. All right, Amy, tell everybody why they want to go to this link to learn about VA loans.
Every year, things are changing with the VA loans. And so if you go to the VA website, you are going to get the most updated and accurate information. And if you just Google VA loan, you're going to get, just so many results. But most of these results are coming from companies that are putting this information up there. And so it may not be updated. So to get the most accurate information, and I will say, I know a lot of people are like, oh, the VA. This guide is very user-friendly, lots of FAQs. It's very well put together. So I highly recommend going directly to the VA. And so there are some companies that are a little sneaky with their names. Just when you go to the site, just make sure it's the official site.
Yeah. So if you are watching either live on Instagram or on LinkedIn, I will drop those that same link in after the live. And if you're listening to the podcast after the fact, it will be in the show notes, so you can make sure and go straight to that va.gov link and learn more about your VA loan. Okay, Amy, I'm so sad that we have to end our conversation.
I know. I could chat about this all day.
I do. Well, it's your favorite thing to talk about. And it currently is getting me excited. Like, I think my husband would be so excited if I said, find a house and let's go look at it.
Yes, right.
Just because it gets me excited about just looking at properties and what's available and out there.
Yeah, I see on Facebook, on a lot of the military spouse pages, I see so many people offering their homes with, assumptions, or people asking, are there any homes, within commute distance to JBLM that, people will sell that have assumable loans? And it's amazing how many just military families are making it work for each other in this way. And so I love just seeing that, because I feel like our community is a very giving community. Yes. And so I love to see this collaboration, to create a win-win situation for the home seller and the home buyer. So it's really fantastic.
Oh, that's like a big heart out to the military community. Thanks, guys.
Right. I know. I love it.
Yes. Yeah. So, Amy, I want to make sure that anyone who's listening knows how to find you. Can you tell us, I've got this slide up right now that's got kind of your main areas, but tell them where you're usually at and how to reach out to you.
So my personal LinkedIn, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. And then of course I'm active on Facebook and Instagram. Most people know me by my personal Facebook and personal Instagram, which is fine, but I do have my business Instagram and business Facebook. And then I do, share content about not just VA loans, but just the market in general and home buying and home selling and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Okay. Well, we are going to be saying goodbye as we kind of close out our live stream for today. I just want to thank our sponsor, SpouseLink. SpouseLink was created in 2012 by AFMA, the American Armed Forces Mutual Aid Association, to support, inform, and inspire military spouses around the world. Join our email list to learn about MilSpouse Transition. I will be dropping that link. And then come find me on LinkedIn. Hit my bell to get the latest and greatest in all of the transition talk that will be happening. All right. So, Amy, just want to say thank you one more time to you. I really appreciate you. And we'll talk. We'll talk offline, of course. So,
yes. Thank you so much, Anna. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to just share more about the VA loan and just kind of, give some facts over the myths and just kind of inspire people to dig in and learn more about the VA loan. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes. I hope everyone feels absolutely inspired. You're welcome, Jamie. We're glad that you joined in with us today. All right. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye. We will see you on the next SpouseLink live stream.